previous video regarding the customs of Hamotzi, which was episode number 8, we discussed the custom of throwing the bread to each person at the table. We cited the practice of several rabbis who would throw the bread gently, including Hakam Oseh Tawil, Hakam Ishaq Shehebar, and Hakam Obadiah Yosef Alayhim HaShalom. And we mentioned that the custom is based on a halakha that Harambam wrote in Mishneh Torah. In the 7th chapter of the Laws of Berachot, halakha he, Harambam wrote that the one distributing the bread does not place the bread in the hand of the one that he's giving it to, unless the person receiving the bread is a mourner. But what about the prohibition of throwing bread? The Gemara Masechet Berachot taught that we may not throw bread. And in Shulchan Aruch, Maran ruled in accordance with the understanding of the Tosafot that throwing bread is disrespectful, even if the bread does not become inedible as a result of being thrown, whereas other foods may be thrown unless they become undesirable after they are thrown. However, the rabbis in Halab were careful to throw the bread gently so that it would not be disrespectful to the bread. According to their understanding, full-fledged throwing is disrespectful and is what was prohibited according to Maran based on the Tosafot. But gentle throwing is not disrespectful and is not included in the prohibition of throwing bread, even according to Maran and the Tosafot. It is noteworthy that other authorities did not differentiate between bread and other foods and explained that the Gemara only prohibited throwing bread if throwing it would cause the bread to become inedible. These authorities include Rabbi Gaon, Rashi, and it also appears to be the opinion of the Rif and Harambam. And therefore those that are not careful to throw the bread gently have several prominent authorities to rely upon. Interestingly, there are also Ashkenazim that had the custom of throwing the bread when distributing it to everyone at the table. Rabbi Chaim Zanzer, an 18th century authority from Ukraine, wrote that throwing the bread is the custom, and he legitimized the custom, since it is permitted according to several authorities, including the Baal Halachot Gedolot and the Rashba. And when there is a question of a rabbinic prohibition, such as throwing bread, one may rely upon the lenient authorities when there is a custom to do so. The Hatam Sofer's son, Rabbi Abraham Sofer, who was an authority in Hungary in the 19th century, also used to throw the bread when distributing it to everyone at his table. So the custom of throwing the bread is based on a halakha that Harambam wrote in Mishneh Torah. In Halab, the rabbis were careful to throw it gently in order to conform to Maran's ruling based on the Tosafot, who considered throwing bread to be disrespectful, even when throwing it did not cause the bread to become inedible. But even those that don't throw it so gently are relying upon the opinion of the other authorities that we mentioned, that explain the Talmud's prohibition of throwing bread as only applying to throwing that causes the bread to become inedible, and therefore they allow one to throw bread if the bread is still going to be edible after it was thrown. And this was also the custom in some Ashkenazic communities as well.